Try it again. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sunday Night Ghost Stories on a Sunday, as nature intended. We have been very tardy tonight because I haven't even got the candles lit, which is most bizarre. Oh, there we go. We've got that one working now. There we go. Finally, it's been a night of gremlins and things not working, and oh, there we go. That's more like it. So here we are in the library, he said grandly. That's more like it. Here we are in the library. Derpy is on the windowsill there. And what are we reading tonight? We are reading Ghost Stations 5, which barkingly mad book, but it's very enjoyable. So what are we drinking? Well, 2-beer strategy tonight. We're having one of the subscription beers, which is called Bribon Ludica Oatmeal Stout, a little piece of Baja. Every beer we make carries a little piece of our life in Baja, California, Mexico. Baja, California, Mexico. Optimistic, free, and spontaneous, a bit like this show. Brewed and canned for Ludicia in the EU, imported to the UK by Beer 52. Born in Baja, California, Mexico. 4.6%. So here we go. Honestly good oatmeal stout. Bribon is a light stout with full flavour, classic roastiness with notes of coffee, chocolate, and caramel. Dark, tasty, and easy to drink when you want something deep without it feeling heavy. Ideal with a corn quesabiria. So there we go. There's the box art. Box art. That's the day job talking. So let's pour that out. And what are we washing it down with? Well, the second part of tonight's beer is the Saint Pierre, which we get from Home Bargains, which I've got to say j'adore. So what are we washing it down with tonight? We went for Friday, we went for the Balmuir blended Scotch whiskey, distilled, blended and bottled in Scotland, oak aged 3 years. Balmuir blended Scotch whiskey, distilled, blended and bottled in Scotland. This blended Scotch whiskey has been expertly crafted using traditional methods and only the finest ingredients. Mellowed in oak casks, this whiskey is smooth with a rich sweetness and depth of flavour, leaving a warm, lingering finish. Got to say, not usually a fan of blended scotches, but as we know, the Arbracken is a blended scotch. And you know what? We're going to break protocol tonight, and we're going to have a sip of the old scotch to kick off with. So, Slange. That is exceptionally warm. Very nice. Right. I'm trying to remember where we are now. Right. 4 graves, but 5 names to Scampton. At 0135 hours on the morning of Monday, the 12th of May, 1941, just 26 hours after the so-called Rudolf Hess, the Deputy Führer of Germany, parachuted into Scotland, a German Junkers 88 was brought down by ground fire from the station defences at RAF Scampton. The kill being credited to Sergeant Walter Billingham, who was later involved with the unseen servant at Royal Air Force Ossington, Ghost Stations 3. The aircraft crashed in a field where the northeast end of Scampton runway is today. To accommodate the new generation of V-bombers, a new runway was laid, and this entailed diverting the old Roman road, the A15, to enable the runway to be extended across the original road. 4 members 4 crew members were pulled from the wreckage by a Mr. and Mrs. Miller of Scampton. All the men were killed and they were buried 2 days later in Scampton Village churchyard. They originally had wooden crosses bearing the names Kurt Hanning, Lieutenant, Johannes Dietrich, I think that's Geführer, Wilhelm Hansen, UFZZ, I know what that stands for, but anyway, and E.H. Riedel, Geführer. The name Riedel was later changed to read Helmuth Widemer, when the present headstones were added. A few years later, a local farmer, Mr. R. Fieldsend, and let's face it, if you're going to be called a farmer, if you're a farmer, the name Fieldsend, nominative determinism there. A few years later, a local farmer, Mr. R. Fieldsend, unearthed human remains, including a skull with blonde hair attached to it and bits of aircraft when ploughing over the site where the German aircraft crashed. Very strange. The fifth man. A Junkers 88 had just enough room for 4 crew members. So who was who? Why was a 5th man on board? And add to the mystery the local newspaper. The Echo reported at the time that the Junkers 88 was shot down and the entire crew of 5 perished. 5 crew members, but only 4 were buried. Why was the 5th crew member not found at the time of the crash? When the graves at Scampton Churchyard were visited by Ken Billingham, he said, "When my dad took me to see the graves in 1963, only 4 names were seen, no mention of Riedel. When I visited again in 1982, the name E.H. Riedel had been added." Very, very strange. The name Riedel had been added with the absence of his date of birth. See photographs. So why did it take so long to sort out the names? Was it Riedel or was it Wimeder on a mission to England? Was it connected with Rudolf Hess? To try and solve the mystery, Flight Lieutenant Stockman tried to research the crash and came up with the findings that a E.H. Riedel went missing at Greifswald, where the Junkers 88 was based, and was posted as a deserter. Riedel was never heard of again at Greifswald. That I do not accept for the following fact-based reasons. The Junkers 88, which brought Wimeder and Riedel to Scampton, was from 8 Staffel Squadron, Kampfgeschwader Bomber Wing, number 76, a group which normally operated from bases in France and the Low Countries. But this aircraft was from Greifswald, a base in northeast Germany, about 55 miles east of Rostock on the Baltic coast. A very strange airfield to operate from for a routine night raid into Lincolnshire. It would involve a round trip of approximately 1,160 miles, 580 miles each leg of the flight. So why come all that way when you could do it more easily from either Holland or Belgium? The reason: it was a special operation with a special passenger, and it was connected with Rudolf Hess. The proof being that the range of the Junkers 88A4 was an improved version. Read that again. The proof being that the range of the Junkers 88A4, which was an improved version of the Junkers 88A1/A5 in question, had a range of 1,112 miles, so drop tanks would have to be used. One was reported found in the wreckage. And the very fact that the drop tank was found in the wreckage proves it very strange. Surely this would have been used up first and then dumped in the North Sea. That was the normal thing to do. Let us remember one of the so-called Hess's drop tanks was reported found in the River Clyde. And if Riedel had been a ground crew chap, I'm certain he would not have willingly gone for a ride. So that does not ring true. To me, it is so very strange and smells like a cover up. Just what was going on during those early months of 1941. On the night of the 20th to 21st of May 1941, a German Dornier, piloted by Oberleutnant Schmidt and a crew with MI6 connections, landed at Lincoln Aerodrome to deliver a package. Far-fetched, but not impossible. It had to be either Waddington or Scampton. Skellingthorpe did not open until October 1941. So, was the incident on the 12th of May 1941 an operation which went sadly wrong? Yes. And the 4 graves but 5 names to Scampton bear witness to the cover-up and the mystery. I'm looking for the thunderclap. Got some photographs here. Funeral procession of Lieutenant Kurt Hanning and crew of the Junkers 88 at Scampton Village on the 14th of May 1941. Sergeant Billingham is the one with the shoulder strap to the right of the big drum, as looking at the picture. Note, this is a unique photograph, being the only known one in existence. There they are. And the next one is Sergeant Walter Billingham, who shot down the German Junkers 88. There he is. What a hero. There was a war on. And 4 graves, but 5 names to Scampton. The 4 German graves in Scampton Churchyard, the crew of the Junkers 88. Note, grave top right has 2 names, no date of birth or Riedel. Okay, note, grave top right has 2 names. Okay. Owing to the reproduction in the book, you really can't see the names at all. But that's classic. That's classic Bruce, that is. That's... I mean, none of that story really made sense. I'm sure it did when he wrote it, but anyway, Derp is asleep on the windowsill there. Anyway, Slange with everybody. Let's try this oatmeal beer. Smells lovely. That is delicious. Oh, I can taste the coffee notes and the toffee and the caramel. That is absolutely gorgeous. Or if I could buy that all the time. Well, I can buy the coffee stout at Aldi, but must get some more of that actually, by the way. Here we go. Dead Soldier and Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, Dead Soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
Indeed. The Haunted Hangar at Middleton, St. George. During 1987, which to me still feels like the recent past, nearly 40 years ago. During 1987, when Royal Air Force Leaming in Yorkshire closed for major redevelopment, which involved building a new control tower, the light aircraft of the University Air Squadron and Number 11 Air Experience flight moved to the old wartime airfield of Middleton St. George, now in business as Teesside International Airport. Both units moved into Number 2 hangar along with one or two other aviation companies who had either equipment or the odd aircraft parked there. Several old offices, long since disused, were quickly pressed into service again, and the place seemed to take on a new lease of life. The de Havilland Chipmunk and Scottish Aviation Bulldog aircraft used the bottom end of the old wartime hangar, and the contracted ground crew Luvax also had their stores and workshops located there. The washroom for the University Air Squadron and the Air Experience flight was in the bottom left-hand corner. the haunted section of the hangar, as Flying Officer Brian Stevenson explains. It was not uncommon to turn expecting. That doesn't make sense. I'll read that again. It was not uncommon to turn expecting to see someone following when crossing the hangar towards the washroom. I also noticed a reluctance on behalf of the cadets of the Air Training Corps to use it at all. They would either go in groups or instead walk to the airport terminal. Such was their fear for that section of the hangar. It was very uncanny. When I questioned them about it, they would simply shrug or say it didn't feel a very nice place. Usually they would reply, "I don't know, sir," and appear embarrassed, so I never pressed the point with them or mentioned anything said by the staff. It simply wasn't necessary, as it was it simply wasn't necessary, as it was most apparent that everyone shared the same dislike for the place. We discovered when clearing out the hangar that badminton courts had been painted on the hangar floor at the bottom end years before, and we quickly acquired a net, thinking that the facility may be useful. That's punctuation, Bruce. Come on. We discovered when clearing out the hangar that badminton courts had been painted on the hangar floor at the bottom end years before, and shouldn't be a comma there. It should just be, and we quickly acquired a net, thinking that the facility may be useful again. It should be maybe, should be two words, not one. But again, no one wanted to use that end of the hangar and would congregate instead at the front door of the hangar whilst waiting for their turn to fly. Remember, all these cadets had flown at RAF Leeming in the past and were well used to the hangars and crew rooms, which were exactly the same, except for the eerie atmosphere. The haunted hangar that Flying Officer Brian Stevenson refers to is in fact an old wartime J-type hangar and has a long history of being haunted, going back to the war years. In that section of the hangar, it has always felt cold, and wartime bombers parked in that area never returned, and nothing was changed to the present day. During their stay in the old wartime hangar at the old wartime airfield of Middleton St. George, the chipmunks of number 11 Air Experience flight were continually plagued with faults, usually radio-related, which baffled the ground crew. For quite a few months, although the radio specialist was of the opinion that the aircraft had been tampered with on occasions, his colleagues never went along with his views. I always thought they dismissed the possibility too readily, said Flying Officer Stevenson. Oh, that's the end of that. We'll read that again. We come to the end of that story. For quite a few months, although the radio specialist was of the opinion that the aircraft had been tampered with on occasions, his colleagues never went along with his view. I always thought they dismissed the possibility too readily, said Flying Officer Stevenson. Again, Bruce, punctuation. Right, here we have Lancaster M. Mike landing at Middleton St. George just before the end of the war. The haunted hangar is seen on the left. Then we have a nice Lancaster coming into land there. Then we have wartime crash crew at Middleton St. George who knew about the haunted hangar. It was haunted even then. Crash crew. See them there? There they are. Warrant Officer, later Flying Officer Brian Stevenson inside the haunted hangar at Middleton St. George in March 1991. So there he is. And then we have Warrant Officer, later Flying Officer Stevenson inside the haunted hangar with the chipmunk that was plagued with faults, March 1991. Oh, we do like a chippy. The aircraft and the dispenser of potato-related foodstuffs. Oh, I could murder some chips at the moment. In fact, Derpy, am I seeing friend Faye on Tuesday? I think I might be. Will there be chips and mushy peas? He's nodding his little feline head there on the windowsill. Oh, the moon's just come up as well. I'll take a photograph of that. That's quite awesome sauce. What did you do on Sunday night? Well, I should have been watching the World Cup game, but instead I was watching a confused man from Dudley taking a photograph of his cat asleep on the windowsill. Don't know if you can see that. So there's Derp. I don't think you can see that. It's not clear enough. There's Derpy on the windowsill. And in the distance, there we go. And you can see there's the moon creeping over the hills. Absolutely awesome sauce, that. Oh, Sludge. Oh, lovely. You're good health. Oh, lovely. The ghost of Montrose Aerodrome. Readers of my ghost stations are well aware of the Montrose ghost and first told in Ghost Stations with photograph of the funeral of Lieutenant Arthur, who was said to be the ghost of Montrose Aerodrome. And in Ghost Stations 2, more about the Montrose ghost, and in Ghost Stations 3, a full set of photographs showing the military parade and salute over the coffin in the cemetery. And the caption asks, but was it an accident? If not, that could be the reason why the ghost of Lieutenant Arthur haunts Montrose. Information now to hand will help clear up the Montrose mystery, but at the same time give rise to a strange coincidence of two disasters. Brexit and the Tory party. Let us go back to the beginning. Lieutenant Desmond Lucius Arthur of the 5th Royal Munster Fusiliers, an Irish regiment, was born in Glanamere, County Clare, on the 31st of March, 1884. He took his air certificate number 233 on a Bristol monoplane at Brooklands on the 18th of June, 1912. In 1912, Montrose, then a cavalry depot, was handed over to the Royal Flying Club and became the permanent station of Number 2 Squadron. The squadron were equipped with B-2 aeroplanes, and there were many fatal accidents. Mysterious accidents. One of those fatal, unexplained, mysterious accidents happened to a pilot named Desmond Arthur in May 1913. The day he was killed, he was flying from the original Montrose Aerodrome at Upper Dysart, about 2 miles southwest of Montrose, and not from the other flying field at Broomfield, which was 1 mile north of Montrose. Number 2 Squadron moved to Broomfield from Upper Dysart on the 15th of January 1914. The flying field was then abandoned. The Court of Inquiry, which sat to investigate the cause of the flying accident, found that it was due to an error of judgment on the part of the pilot. But relatives and friends of Lieutenant Desmond Arthur were not satisfied with this finding and demanded another inquiry. Another court of inquiry took place, this time under war conditions, and they returned a finding to the effect that the aeroplane had broken up in the air. Between the two court of inquiries, there were many strange happenings, and a strange officer kept appearing at the officers' mess and about the officers' quarters at Montrose. When approached, he vanished as suddenly as he had appeared. Many officers cited the ghost airman, and when they reported what they had seen, they were taken seriously, for they were officers and gentlemen, and not the sort of people whom one would expect to see things that were not there. Within the space of only 3 months, dozens reported sighting the ghost. At one time, the ghost appeared in the dead of night and stood by the beds of two junior officers who both saw the ghost very clearly. And such was the publicity. The War Office, as it was then, tried to play down the ghost of Montrose Aerodrome. At that time, all officers and men in the flying services had no doubt that the ghost of Montrose Aerodrome was that of Lieutenant Desmond Arthur, haunting the aerodrome in order to get the findings of the court inquiry on his accident changed. And because of his numerous appearances and sinister effect that he had on the whole flying services, there is no doubt it was the ghost of Montrose Aerodrome that forced the Second Court of Inquiry to change their findings. The ghost of Lieutenant Desmond Arthur was never seen at the Montrose Broomfield flying field, only at the officers' mess, which was in an early 19th century army barracks in the centre of Montrose. The body of Desmond Arthur was found near Lunnon Bay railway station, which is 3 miles south of Montrose. A ghost has been seen at Montrose Broomfield, but, according to eyewitnesses, this phantom figure is clad in Second World War flying kit. But there are other eyewitness accounts of another phantom figure. Could this be the spectral Lieutenant Desmond Arthur? Just after the First World War, Montrose Airfield closed. It reopened during the expansion period of the 1930s, and when the ghost was first sighted in November 1940, the Royal Air Force had no doubts that the ghost haunting RAF Montrose was indeed the ghost of Lieutenant Desmond Arthur. And on arrival chits issued to those posted at RAF Montrose, it stated that the airfield was haunted by the youngest ghost in the Royal Air Force, an officer named Flight Lieutenant Arthur. And could that be so? Yes, for this reason, the official report on the Lieutenant Arthur hauntings was in a safe at the new officers' mess at RAF Montrose. This was the usual wooden building found on all airfields. On the last Friday of October 1940, the building was hit by a German oil bomb. It burned fiercely and the building was destroyed. In the smouldering ashes, the safe was opened to reveal a pile of ashes, the remains of the official report. And that is the reason why the ghost of Lieutenant Desmond Arthur returned to haunt the airfield. No offence, Bruce, but I think you're clutching at straws there, matey. I thought we had a Lieutenant Arthur in one of the previous stories. Oh, that was. Yeah, no, we read that one. No, sorry, I was slightly taken aback. Yeah, that's Lieutenant Arthur. It's been a long day, folks. I was up at stupid this morning. No, got slightly confused there. What are we up to? We have just gone through the half-hour mark, so excellent. We can have some snacks, Dirt. In the magnificent Rush beer glass. Thank you, viewers, Kirsten and Steve in the United States. God bless you. And I've suddenly realised that we can turn the blur background on. There we go. That's more like it. That's a bit more atmospheric. We like that. Right. Let's have some wasabi mix. Oh, that's really quite hot. Actually, I think the visual effects are really messing around with the Yeah, we'll turn that off. Really messing around with the signal, so what did you do on Sunday night? I tuned in to watch the Ghost Story show, but instead it was a confused man from Dudley with holes in his head eating little wasabi mix. So, what did we get up to yesterday? Well, yesterday we were doing some work on friend Laura's allotment. So that's a blackcurrant bush, which was totally overwhelmed with, I think it was ground elder. So I managed to clear that. Loads of fruit on it. Try it again. That's a blackcurrant bush. Like I say, it was overwhelmed with, I think it's ground elder. It's like a sticky weed. So I cleared all that. So that was good. So we got blackcurrants there. That's a confused man from Dudley doing some digging there. So awesome sauce. That was the garden helper. He's not very good with a fork, but we paid him in worms. We paid him in caterpillar grubs. So he was very vocal. Raspberries there, loads of raspberries. The previous tenant on the allotment had put in a lot of fruit bushes. And so this is what we're trying to kind of tidy up and reclaim. So there are dozens of these beautiful raspberry plants, absolutely fabulous. Those are the runner beans, the beans that we put in. So again, you kind of go back a week later and suddenly weeds have appeared. So I gave them a good watering. Unfortunately, all the pumpkins we put in had all been destroyed by the weather / the heat / the slugs and snails. But never mind, I've still got some more at home. So, and the one that of the 9 that I planted in my garden, only 1 survives. But it seems to be doing quite well at the moment. Oh, we're back to the blackcurrant bush again. So that was awesome sauce. So that was a good 3 or 4 hours yesterday of top class gardening. Well, horticulture, call it what you want. I'm also minded of the fact that 40 years ago today, I was in that there Milton Keynes. Got the beer burps coming up, folks. Oh, there we go. Beer burps at 35 minutes and 27 seconds. I was in Milton Keynes with my good friend Sam, my much dearly missed late good friend Sam. And he was pretty much one of my best friends at school. Again, going back over 30 years ago, over 40 years ago. Anyway, long story short, we went to Milton Keynes and we went to see Marillion live at the Milton Keynes Bowl. And this is pretty much in the middle of the 80s when they were they were absolutely massive at the time. Kaylee and Misplaced Childhood had only come out a year before, so everybody was a fan at that point. Anyway, so there's me. I got absolutely sunburnt that day. Still got that t-shirt and it still fits ish. And there's Sam. Love him. He was a great bloke. And gosh, was that really 12 years ago that we lost him? I think the sad thing is he never got to see how brilliantly his daughters have grown up, how well Steph has Steph has done with them. And Sam, I miss you loads, mate. I really do miss you loads. Lovely guy, big gentle giant. In fact, he was the when we made our screen test movie back in 1983, he was the hero of that. He was the eponymous Norman. Right. This afternoon, I was in the workshop prepping for our other Sunday night webcast, looked out the window, and there on my cherry tree, helping herself to my cherries, was this female blackbird. Now I've had that cherry tree for the best part of 10 years. This year is the first time it's fruited and the fruits have held. Most years it will fruit, but they'll disappear through what's known as cherry drop. Nope, this year we've got loads of them. And there she is, the culprit. Goodness me. She was getting stuck into my cherries. Absolutely unbelievable. But I'm not going to begrudge the birds getting stuck into my cherries, because it's partly why we have fruit in the garden. It's not all about what I want out of it. It's also putting something back in for nature. And talking of my cherries, there we go. Look at them. They are beauties, absolute beauties. Obviously, with cherries, you don't eat the stones because they contain, is it cyanide or arsenic? One or the other. They're quite toxic, but obviously the fruits are fine. And this was 9 o'clock in the morning. A confused, excuse me, a confused man from Dudley with holes in his head, having a nice cup of tea. And whenever I have tea on the patio, it's always cup and saucer, not a mug. I'm not an animal. I think that's about it, Derp. I think we've covered. The tedium of today. What have we got lined up for this week? Wasabi peas. These are really hot. Two Reg Walk isn't going to be until Thursday because of the football on Wednesday. England getting into the knockout stages of the World Cup. So I'm hoping to have some meetups with some friends. Also cracking on with work as well. Exciting times. Life is for living. So thanks, Mabel. In good health. The ghosts of Royal Air Force Bawtry. During the Second World War, Bawtry Hall near Doncaster became the home for No. 1 Group headquarters. They moved in during July 1941, and by the end of that year was responsible for the bomber airfields at Binbrook, Elsham Wolds, Snaith, Holme, Hemswell, and Lindholm. The group's bombers flew a total of 57,900 operational sorties during the war years, dropping 238,356 tons of bombs and laying 8,147 sea mines. But they paid a high price with the loss of 8,577 aircrew who perished during Bomber Command's mighty onslaught. Again, Bruce, your punctuation is terrible. He's got here, but they paid a high price with the loss of 8,577 aircrew who, comma, perished during Bomber Command's mighty onslaught. It doesn't need a comma. Oh, we've got another brand new section, right? Slide. Oh. in the magnificent United Federation of Planet shot glass. Again, big shout to viewers Kirsten and Steve in the United States. Oh, I love that. Absolutely brilliant. Cheers, me dears. Oh. Ooh. So this is the Saint Pierre from Home Bargains. Saint Pierre, Saint Peter's Abbey, Abbey Saint Pierre, Belgian Abbey blonde with an E on the end, beer. 6%. Oh my goodness me. Doesn't say anything more, but beautiful little drawing there. Absolutely stained glass. Absolutely fabulous stuff, this. What do you reckon, Derp? Do you think we should check on the football scores? He's nodding. He agrees with me. So let's have a quick look at the football scores. Oh, the beer burps again. Do apologise. Oh, my mate Dave went to see. I think he went to see Def Leppard in Edinburgh. He's got also the support act tonight were Extreme, an American band. Anyway, I remember Extreme were at the Freddie Mercury tribute concert. Checks notes 34 years ago, 35 years ago. Oh. Resident Ghosts. Bawtry Hall and the estate was quickly converted into a headquarters for the ever-increasing Bomber Command's airfields, whose bombers nightly sowed the seeds of death. The boys in blue quickly settled into their spacious operational quarters, but the wartime guests had not reckoned on the resident ghosts. Many airmen reported seeing a white lady walk across the lake at certain hours of the night. The lake, which was part of the Bawtry Hall estate, was a walk away from the station proper at the bottom of a ride through woods, and at dusk, with vapour on the water, it was a very eerie setting, and it was haunted by the White Lady. Bawtry Hall is a 3-storey building with an impressive frontage, behind which officers' quarters and mess were situated. In the west wing on the 3rd floor was a top secret office that was locked off from the rest of the building each night. This meant that those on picket duty could not patrol the top floor. The 2nd floor around the courtyard ran all around the building, but had only one entrance and exit. It was wood flooring overlaid with lino. Below that were rooms that once served as dairy, stables, etc., and they were stone flagged floors and were also haunted. One still night, all the windows in a billet crashed open in the early hours. It was a perfectly still night, not even a breath of wind, yet all the windows suddenly crashed open. The building was deserted. From human beings, that is. I think that should be the building was deserted by human beings, that is. There were many other strange and supernatural happenings, too many for just coincidence. Postcards kept appearing on a mantelpiece on the 3rd floor, remembering that all material had to be locked away, which had been left bare the night before. Old postcards which had not come from the back of the fireplace. It's Bruce with his bloody awful punctuation. He's got here, Old postcards which, comma, had come from the back of the fireplace and were slightly charred but not burnt. No need for a comma there, Bruce. Old postcards which had come from the back of the fireplace and were slightly charred but not burned. Give me strength. Oh, flange. Oh, that St. Peter's. That's lovely. Oh, I could drink that like water, but I couldn't afford to drink it like water. So, oh, we were going to check the football scores, weren't we? That's what we were doing. What do you know? We have carefully poured that out. Goodness me, we've got another dead soldier. And Run VT.
Oh, it's jolly nice of you. Hello, dead soldier. Seen plenty of those in my time.
Ha 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 ha. Indeed, right. Football. Canada into World Cup last 16 with 92nd minute winner against South Africa. Oh, well done, Canada. Football. So what's the next game? Scores and fixtures. Just seeing what matches are, what other matches are on. What did you do on Sunday night? I tuned in to watch Ghost Stories, but instead he was faffing around with his bloody phone again. Oh, well done, Canada. Looks like it's going to be a straight Family Guy run tonight. Right. Ghostly footsteps. After the Second World War, the ghostly happenings increased at RAF Bawtry. It was as if the spirits of those killed so needlessly had come back to haunt those in command. I've got to show you this. This is what makes it such hard work, because Bruce clearly doesn't understand. God bless you, Bruce Barrymore Halpenny, the late Bruce Barrymore Halpenny, but he clearly doesn't understand punctuation. So I don't know if you can see that there, but he does kind of like ... And it doesn't need to be that. It just breaks the narrative flow up. Just needs to be commas. After his square bashing at RAF Padgate, aircraftsman John Tilmouth was posted to Royal Air Force Bawtry for general duties in October 1948. And seeing that he was a hairdresser in Civvy Street, he naturally became the station barber. Over the Christmas period in 1949, he was on picket duty armed only with a standard issue truncheon and torch. Those on picket duty were obliged, because of the area around the top secret because of the area around the top secret office in the West Wing being sealed off, to go around the building to the sealed off West area and back by the same route. Again, he's put ... in there. It's a comma, Bruce. It's a bleeping comma. During his shift over that Christmas period in 49, and he's written 49 in letters where it should be numerals, 1949. Oh, what do you do on Sunday night? I tuned in to watch the moderately entertaining Ghost Stories show, but instead of reading ghost stories, he started getting obsessed about grammar and spelling mistakes. Anyway, have you met me? During his shift over that Christmas period in 49, aircraftsman Tilmouth experienced the ghostly footsteps, which is still fresh in his mind after 4 decades. He recalls, "As a northerner, I came home for New Year and spent Christmas on the station. As a result, I was on picket duty with another chap. One of our duties was to patrol the building described regularly. It was the day after Boxing Day, as I recall, and my partner and I went into the building with me carrying the truncheon and the other fellow the torch. We checked the doors. See again, carrying the torch, full stop. We checked the doors. That should be a fresh sentence, doesn't follow on from a comma. The CO's door was in front of us with the corridor down the west side at our left. We heard footsteps coming towards us down that corridor and naturally shone the torch down the corridor. There was no one there, but the footsteps continued. Almost as one man, we rushed back to the duty officer's room, slammed and locked the door. The footsteps came to the door and stopped. No sound except from us to push the desk up to the door to prevent entry. We stayed there until dawn, missed our breakfast, and when we finally opened the door, there was no one there. I don't think I've ever quite recovered from that. I was terrified and could still feel a little of that now. That is the only incident I personally enjoyed. When it was reported to the adjutant, it was described as rubbish. If memory serves, we narrowly escaped being charged. With what, I will never know. As to what became of the truncheon and torch, I do not know. Very strange, but true. Many people who served Air Force Bawtry heard the ghostly footsteps, but each time the incidents were reported, they were poo-pooed at the time, but over the years, the stories have emerged. Again, Bruce, punctuation. The post-war years brought peace, ... But for many, it was a restless peace as the ghost squadrons took over the old, abandoned airfields. Goodness me, it's just like a book that's been written by a 3-year-old. It's annoying because he can write, but I think he needs an editor. And it's hard work, folks. Anyway, Slange. Your good health. My wasabi mix. Ghostly footprints in the snow. During the winter of 1949, Flight Lieutenant Shaw was returning to Royal Air Force Bawtry on a night out at the Crown Hotel. It was late, and it had been snowing heavily with the ground well covered by a good inch of snow. Shaw, slightly askew with drink, why did he do a ghost story show, is alleged to have tried to catch the motor transport crew sleeping on duty and had started towards the MT section when he noticed footprints in the snow, ghostly footprints appearing beside him as he walked. The ghostly footprints quickly sobered Flight Lieutenant Shaw because no one else was there. He was alone. Or was he? Had a restless spirit returned? Shaw, now stone cold sober, did not wait to find out, and he quickly called out the station police. A search was carried out, but no intruders were found, and no one could explain the ghostly footprints. One who witnessed the ghostly footprints in the snow was the station barber, aircraftsman John Tilmouth, who later recalled, "The footprints commenced at the foot of a wall which was about 8 feet high, and there was no disturbance of snow on top. I did see the footprints. I think everyone at RAF Bawtry did. As far as aftermath is concerned, I believe Flight Lieutenant Shaw was posted shortly afterwards, and the ghostly footprints in the snow became legend." That definitely deserves a thunderclap. But what do you do on what do you do on Sunday night? I tune in to watch Sunday Night Ghost Stories, but instead of moderately entertaining stories of the paranormal, a confused man from Dudley with holes in his head just sat there all the time going, I'm not convinced by that one. Sorry, Bruce. Cheers, my beard. Slange. Oh, we got a good shot of Derpy here. He's asleep on the windowsill with the moon rising behind him. Banging shot. Don't know if you can see that. Oh, you can't. Oh, that's so annoying. It just washes out the... Right, well, if you zoom in and there's the moon. There we go. There is the moon. Oh, we'll try that again. Oh, we'll just share it to the Facebook page. Oh, I got some fan mail here. Goodness me, I'm a popular lad tonight. Who's fan mailing me? That's the point. I was listening to Radio 3 this afternoon. I was doing some stuff in the workshop, and it was a program on Radio 3. They were talking about music and how incredibly moving music can actually be written mostly in major keys rather than minor keys. And one of the pieces they used to prove the point was the Adagiato from Mahler's Fifth, which those of you who have ever seen the film A Death in Venice, it's just the most beautiful piece of music. I just love it. And in fact, my good friend Julia, who I had lunch with on Friday, it's one of her favorite bits of music. So, right, I get the funny feeling that Bruce is so lazy here that has he used the same photograph twice? Might have just dissed him rather unfairly. No, he hasn't. Whoops-a-daisy, that's me haunted now. So, right, here we go. The haunted punch ball. We've just gone through the hour mark. There we go. The haunted punch ball. One airman stationed at Royal Air Force Bawtry had aspirations to be a boxer. He used gym equipment which was kept in the station recreation hall. That equipment included a punch ball, the type on a tall spring that shoots back when you hit it. But it was much more than just a punch ball. It was a haunted punch ball that moved on its own. No matter where or how it was locked away, it was always found between the two sets of entrance doors next night. One of those who witnessed the haunted punch ball was John Tilmouth. I can remember once that he ostentatiously locked everything away in its allotted cupboard, took the key to the sergeant and left it there, he said. We, three of us, were with him. When we went with him next evening to pick up the key, when we went with him next evening to pick up the key, opened the hall, and sure enough, the punch ball was at the entrance doors. Today, the Royal Air Force has gone from Royal Air Force Bawtry, but not so the resident ghosts. and the White Lady walks across the lake, and in the still of the night, ghostly footsteps can be heard. Oh, Bruce, you make this such hard work. Ghostly footsteps can still be heard, and go straight. Right, I'm just having a look. No, I think we are going to jump ahead to a couple of stories here because some of these are a bit too long. So, let's move on. Delish. The Eder Dam Mystery. Get the message out to group, cried Gibson to his radio operator. Racial slur, racial slur, racial slur. Racial slur was the code word for the breaching of the Moan Dam. Gibson's job was now done. Gathering the rest of the formation, he headed for the Eder Dam, but when he got there, they found that mist had developed and it made it difficult to get a clear run. The one consolation being no flak. Flight Lieutenant Dave Shannon attacked first, but after 5 unsuccessful runs, withdrew to get a fresh look at the target. Squadron leader Henry Maudsley, flying Lancaster AJZ Zebra, made the next run, but the bouncing bomb was released too late and it exploded on the crown of the dam, doing very little damage, but destroying the bomber in a blinding flash. Or did it? On his third run in, Gibson reported seeing something hanging below Zebra, thought to be damaged. Gibson and others saw Maudsley's bouncing bomb drop too late and explode on impact with the dam parapet. And now the mystery. Gibson's crew were adamant that Zebra was beyond the explosion, not above it. And the mystery deepens. Gibson called up Maudsley on the second. Then the mystery deepens. Gibson called up Maudsley, and on the second call, a faint voice was heard to say, "I think so. Stand by." Sergeant O'Brien thought that the very faint sound was unnatural and almost dehumanized. "I'm doing my best, Sergeant." But it was definitely heard. The official verdict was that Sergeant Leader Maudsley had been blown up by his own mine, but later evidence supports the conclusion that Maudsley did in fact survive. And at this point, the mystery now becomes sinister. German records on this operation have not survived. British casualty records are not open to public inspection. It is therefore impossible to conclude that Maudsley did survive with any certainty. Oh, and that's it. That's where he ends it. Oh, Bruce, you do not make these stories easy to read. I'm just looking for a nice short one. The glowing control tower, and then that'll be it for tonight. So, because we's got hungry. Oh, delicious. Slange. Oh, do you know what? For 12 quid, that Balmuir is pretty good stuff. We do like it, don't we, Dirk? Well, you don't like it. You don't drink. But anyway. The glowing control tower. Between 1986 and 1988, David Peel lived at RAF Hemswell in the post office on the Market Raisin Road. Oh, the beer burps again. The post office served the army camp that occupied part of the old airfield. The beer burps. Do apologise. In February 1987, he was at a loose end one night and, half seriously, suggested to his brother and his best friend that they should go on a ghost hunt at the airfield opposite the old RAF Hemswell. The three of them set out, and after exploring almost the entire airfield, ... when suddenly David Peel halted. I noticed what I noticed what I thought was a greenish glow at the top window in the control tower, he said. After the "Are you seeing things?" and rubbishing me, it was agreed that there was some sort of green light inside the top room in the tower. Oh, Bruce, your punctuation was all over the place. The three of them then set out, and after exploring most of the entire airfield, when suddenly, that doesn't flow, mate. Come on. Rather excitedly, we managed, possibly illegally, to get onto the roof, trying to hang off the railings in order to get a look into the windows that were glowing, but sadly we were not able to. Probably nothing at all in it, but I did lay awake for a long time that night, just wondering what, if anything, we had seen. It was a funny feeling, I can assure you. There have been many ghostly happenings at the old Hemswell airfield, as readers of my ghost stations are well aware. When Derek Harrison, the Missouri Waltz story, page 34 in Ghost Stations, paused that October night in 1978 to answer a call of nature in the hedge bordering Hemswell airfield, the last thing in the world he expected to hear was music, voices, and the sound of a piston-engined aeroplane starting its engines. The airfield was in total darkness and deserted. Or was it? When I asked David Peel for permission to publish his story, he replied, "You may certainly use the story if you wish, although it should be stressed that we never actually saw anything tangible or concrete. We only went on the ghost hunt for something to do on a dark night. We never expected to see or hear anything out of the ordinary, and although I cannot explain the glow that definitely came from inside the tower, I wouldn't immediately come to the conclusion that something spectral was afoot at Hemswell, simply on the basis of my experience, although your books would seem to indicate that something is going on at Hemswell Royal Air Force." That's it for tonight, folks. Oh my goodness me. What are we up to? 1 hour and 10 minutes. Slange. Oh, delicious. Your good health. Oh, deliciouser. Not bad at all. So, what's the rest of the week got planned for me? Fingers crossed. On Tuesday, I'm seeing friend Laura, doing some errands with her. And then hopefully Tuesday evening, seeing friend Faye, chips and mushy peas, if you don't mind. Wednesday, England football match in the evening. Thursday, 2 reg trip down on the West Somerset Railway. Fingers crossed. Obviously, work in the meantime. I will be up at stupid tomorrow morning to crack on with work. So that's it. Life is good, folks. Life is good. So until the next time, which should be Sunday Night Ghost Stories Extra on a Wednesday. Until then, it behoves me to say thank you for watching. Why not? What else are you going to do on a Sunday than watch a confused man from Dudley with holes in his head, drink ghost stories, and read alcohol? You know the answer to that. So until the next time, as ever, thank you for watching. Stay safe. Stay out of trouble. And please don't have nightmares. Good night.